So I've used the flat plane.
Come on, this Santa guy was obviously dingleberry dependent.
Also currently running a GoFundMe campaign, which is absolutely heartbreaking to announce, as one of my speakers blew up, which isn't exactly what you need. But there we go. They're very, very good speakers, and I've had them for over 20 years now, and I bought them originally when they first designed these. They're a pair of B&W Nautilus 804s, and as I say, I've had them since 1999, and they've been faultless and superb ever since. Unfortunately, today I was running a frequency response through them, which is something I've done thousands of times in the past, and they tested fine. I did another frequency response, and suddenly I noticed that they didn't test fine at all. They'd blown. So at least the tweeter is definitely blown, perhaps the mid-range, although I can't be certain of that. Hopefully it's not the crossover. I don't know. There could be a whole number of reasons why something's not working, but I've gone inside them, checked the connections, which are all fine. But yeah, it certainly seems that at least one, possibly two drive units has blown in my very expensive now speakers. So I got these for about £800 when I was a dealer back in 1999. And obviously even then that was a hell of a lot of money for me. Went into credit card debt to get them. And, you know, that was a huge amount of money. And the retail was about £2,500 when they very first released them as a loss leader, and then very quickly went up to about £3,000, as I say, back in the late 90s. But yeah, so they've been doing service ever since, and certainly been every bit of the flat earth debate monitoring system. But yeah, well, one of them's gone bang, and that's just unfortunate. So I thought I'll just swap around some of the other tweeters, as I've got 5 speakers and a subwoofer. I thought, well, I've got 5 tweeters, I'll just swap one. And I had a look inside, having worked on them and serviced them 20 years ago, to see if I could fix them myself. And I very quickly found that there was something that I couldn't remember how to do, so I looked up and checked on the internet how to dismantle them, and I didn't have any joy. They only had later models, so I contacted the manufacturer, and they said, once you order a tweeter, we'll send you a set of instructions on how to specifically dismantle the tweeter on that model, or more specifically remove the tube off the back of the tweeter. It looks like it's glued. He couldn't tell me off the top of his head. But there we go. It's just one in a whole list of things. I've had to... I say they've never been replaced. They have actually had a replacement mid-range once before. Just one of those things. So that has been done, and I am familiar with doing that, but certainly not the tweeter. That's the original one. Again, that's going to need replacing also. Like I say, I don't know about the crossover. I haven't got in that far to check that. But there's a massive target for that reason. So the current replacement, although I paid peanuts for them, is about 10 grand. So they've been making these now for a long time, and obviously as prices go up and the finish gets a bit more shiny and they tell you in the marketing that they're better than the ones before, they've slowly edged their way up to about 10 grand for a really nice finished pair, and maybe £9,000 or £8,000 for a fairly plain looking set. So they're horrendously expensive speakers, definitely worth repairing, and as has always been the past way of things, I can't afford to fix the stuff I've got, and as I use it to run the show, all I've ever been able to do in the past when I've had a disaster like this is to put my hand out and say, I can't afford to do this, please help me, and just not be ashamed of it, just own it. As is the case, I always want to be able to do this stuff with money I get from Patreon, and typically I do quite a lot of maintenance and such with the money I get from my patrons. Thank you very much indeed to you on Patreon. Another shout out to you. I know I've just shouted you out and do daily. But yeah, in this case, the first couple of months of the year are always absolutely horrendous, and in terms of YouTube income, I should add that, preface it, and therefore it's come at the worst possible time. I've got the least amount of money coming in from YouTube. Again, as is in the past, I've just got to own this stuff and say, yeah, it's a fairly mundane thing. So a lot of people who are not familiar with the show or care will come and go, why should I help you fix a speaker? And the only reason is because I can't afford to fix it and I use it to run the show with. So that's my reason, and there's my target. Hopefully, having looked at the tweeter on its own on eBay, I was like, I'll just buy a cheap one on eBay. Yeah, I think it was about $180 just for the diaphragm of the tweeter. I was like, woohoo! Okay, this isn't like back in the day when I was selling this stuff then. It's obviously a lot more expensive now. But as I said, I'm not going to throw 10 grand at a new replacement pair or downgrade them when I can definitely fix them for a seemingly reasonable amount of money, hopefully. If I can get just this bit fixed. This isn't needing fixing, and the crossover, which is the bit in the back that you connect the terminals to, it's got a whole load of resistors and such in the signal path. Hopefully that's not damaged either, and then hopefully it'll cost a couple of £100, in which case I'll just absorb whatever extra I get from the £1,000 total, because I've got such a massive deficit, because I know the last couple of months have been terrible, which I do very rarely moan about how poor I am on YouTube, but for the fact that when I need a helping hand, I'll just put it out there and say, here you go, there's my GoFundMe campaign. So there is a link in the live stream chat for today's live show, although if you're watching this now, it'll be in the pre-show, so that kind of makes no sense. I'll put it in the show notes, or whatever you call it, information box below the video, and when this comes out for the public, I'll stick it in the live stream, or whatever you call it, premiering stream chat, so you can check it out. It'll undoubtedly run for a while. I don't know how much it'll cost, first and foremost. I've only just got in touch with the manufacturer. I spoke to somebody who was very nice, and he put me in touch with the parts manufacturer of B&W, which was in a North American distribution centre, so I assume they've gone a lot more global than they were when I used to work selling their stuff, and as a rep when I used to work with them, because I used to deal with them when I sold amplifiers as a manufacturer. So I know them reasonably well, but obviously they've expanded out, hence my service inquiry for a mere tweeter at the very least is going to go to some North American company. He'll presumably farm it out and charge me a small fortune for any parts that I may need, hence my need for help. So that's enough boring, tedious detail about my GoFundMe, which I'm sure you're all very excited about. There is a little bit more blurb, just basically repeating exactly what I've said here in terms of my journey to actually wanting to get these damn things fixed. Reliable though they have been for the last 22, 23 years, or however long I've had them. So there we go. I think I'll actually share out this link now. Maybe pop the recording on pause just for a moment while I farm out this link to this link.
So I've used the flat plane.
Come on, this Santa guy was obviously dingleberry
Your
dependent.
globe faith that required you measure a flat earth first to then do the sphere bit later.
Yes.
Yes. So you need a flat earth first. Welcome to flat earth. What, it doesn't matter that you need a flat earth first?
Not at all. So I've used the flat
Is it
plane.
possible to switch it up and use the spherical surface first? Or do we need the
Sure.
flat?
We
You still need a flat surface.
Okay, you say. We can use the spherical surface first. How'd you get an elevation angle from the spherical surface first?
No, you wouldn't. You'd need a flat surface.
Sorry, you wouldn't. That's right. Now enjoy the slapping sound of a flat earth. That's absolutely correct. You wouldn't get an elevation angle from a curved earth. It needs to be flat first.